All right, folks, in this video, we're going to talk about why Bitcoin and Jerome Powell are both in big trouble. And funny enough, the way that they're both going to cover their butts is massive manipulation. And in this video, I'm going to show you a couple of data points that are confirming that point. Now, if you missed it, I'm in the middle of listening to Jerome Powell's testimony at the Senate Banking Committee today. I'm part of the way listening through it, but I wanted to stop and make this video because it is done. The markets are already moving, and I want to give you some analysis. So right now, the DXY, which is the dollar index, is climbing back up. It just went up to about 105. So the dollar getting a little bit of strength. I'm going to read you this direct quote here from Jerome Powell. Right now, Bitcoin falling off, rejected off of 58,000. I'm going to speak on that in a second. But Fed Chair Jerome Powell says data does not support the greater confidence in inflation path that the Federal Reserve needs to cut rates. So a lot of folks were hoping and praying and doing their ritual before Jerome Powell speaks, hoping that he's going to come in and cut rates and save the day. Once again, reiterating that they're not ready to cut rates. They haven't seen enough on inflation, and the jobs market hasn't gotten bad enough. Now remember, I've already said that they're willing to sacrifice the middle class of America, and that's exactly what we're seeing in our real economy. Despite the stock market being at all-time highs, in our real economy, the unemployment rate's gone to 4.1%. And we're going to get initial job claims later this week. We're going to get the CPI later this week. And so we'll be reporting on that. But in the meantime, Jerome Powell admitting it's not bad enough that we need to cut rates yet, right? You guys can bleed out a little bit further. That's basically what he's saying. Now, back to the markets here. I want to show you this here on Bitcoin. I'm going to pull up TradingView. And you're not even really going to be able to see this well, but if you can kind of see that. So that's the Bitcoin daily chart, and you see it's tapped off 4 times the top of those candlesticks. That's 58,000. 58,000 was the support, and this is just simple technical analysis for everybody. 58,000 was the support, and we now broke down below it, and trying to get back up to that level, we've rejected off of it 4 times now. Not good for Bitcoin. Let me speak to the manipulation that's taking place in Bitcoin right now. I believe that the German government, what they're doing by offloading Bitcoin is, one, confirming that they don't believe in a long-term thesis on Bitcoin. Otherwise, they'd be holding, right? Why are they not hodlers? Because apparently they don't believe in it. But I think it goes further. By offloading this Bitcoin, they're actually getting to stress test Bitcoin's price and the Bitcoin broader cryptocurrency market for that fact, right? So by offloading their Bitcoin, the German government is confirming that they don't believe in Bitcoin long-term, and 2, they're exposing just how thin the order books and the liquidity is on Bitcoin. Let me explain. This is from Row Rider here on X. The cartel doesn't even hide the manipulation. The day Germany started dumping Bitfinex, which remember, Bitfinex is who is in control of Tether, right? Bitfinex fired up its BTC USD longs bought to max to absorb the sell-off. So basically suggesting that Bitfinex has a bot that they deploy during these market sell-offs to be able to buy up the Bitcoin and try to keep the prices propped up. It added 10,000 Bitcoin. Last time it did this was the Grayscale, the GBTC sell-off in January, which was what took place after the ETFs went live. Remember when we called that buy the rumor, sell the news event, went up to 50,000, well, 49,000. Then it sold off to 38,000. Remember when everybody called me crazy? Remember when I triggered the Bitcoin maxis by saying it was going to be a buy the rumor, sell the news event? Perfectly timed, perfectly called. Bitcoin bros don't like me. That's fine. I want to get you guys the truth. Now, yesterday, we actually reported that there was 3,600 unsold Bitcoin, which was worth about $200 million, were just returned to the German government from exchanges. They seem to be struggling to find enough fiat buyers for their bags. The cartel manipulators are frantically propping up the market right now, trying to draw in the buy the dip exit liquidity. And we talked about the boss that they have turned on. Now, Row Rider continues with this tweet. To spell this out for you, the Bitfinex Tether criminal organization, iFinex, has a bot that constantly long buys Bitcoin with unlimited leverage. It soaks up about 1 full Bitcoin every 3 minutes during big sell-offs with fake money. iFinex insiders literally brag about this openly. So it's just massive manipulation, guys. And this is why Bitcoin is in big trouble. As long as we have Tether, as long as we don't have regulations, and as long as they can deploy these bots, these market maker magicians is what I call them, to keep Bitcoin propped up, then that's going to be, that's good for Bitcoin, right? They'll be able to keep it propped up. The problem is that this time is coming to an end here soon with regulations in the United States, and the first ones being stablecoin legislation. They're going to rein this in. In the meantime, enjoy it while it lasts. We've been worrying about this moment, Bitcoin coming down, and as long as we can't flip 58,000 into support, we are going back down to 52,000 minimum, maybe even lower. But I'm just confident that we'll go back down to the 52,000. Right, so that's where I think that Bitcoin's headed. Now let's talk about Fed Chair Jerome Powell, stuck between a rock and a hard place. So QE Infinity summarized it pretty well here on X. He says, the Powell translation, we're stuck. If we loosen rate policy, we risk destroying the progress that we've made on inflation. They've struggled to get it even below 3%, still well above their 2% target. And if we keep rates elevated, we likely blow up parts of the economy, which are already blowing up. Now, that's exactly the position that Fed Chair Jerome Powell is in. And as I read off earlier, they haven't seen enough on inflation to be willing to cut rates just quite yet. And they're willing to inflict that pain on the middle class. And that's the struggling economy and the unemployment now up at 4.1%. I wanted to add one more point, though. It's interesting, very, very interesting to me, that we see politicians on both sides of the aisle sharing how scared they are about the Basel III endgame. Now, it's interesting why they call it the endgame, right? They're so panicked and worried because their bankster buddies have been telling them, hey, you need to grill Jerome Powell about loosening up the restrictions and requirements of the Basel III endgame. These are new rules for the banking system that would make them actually have more collateral on hand before they just divvy out all these loans. And of course, the banking sector's warning that this is going to basically kill our economy. No one's going to be able to get any more loans. And they're really fear-mongering the Basel III endgame, which it's funny. We can't have any sort of backstop besides the Federal Reserve's money printer is the only backstop that they want to have for our economy. And taxpayer bailouts of said banks in Wall Street. And back in 2008, it was the folks that were betting on our housing market as well, right? That's the only backstop. We can't have gold as a backstop. We can't have sound monetary policy as a backstop. We can't have a strong fiscal budget that doesn't run a deficit as a backstop. The only backstop that we have for our dollar and for our banking system is the Fed's money printer and the promise from the FDIC, Secretary Treasury, Janet No-Tell and Yellen, will bail you out if you're systemically important. If you're not, you're screwed. And then, of course, we back it by the largest military known to man. We can't have any sort of legitimate backstop. And so it was interesting to hear. I was in the middle of listening to Powell's testimony. I'm going to finish it up here. But the panic in their voice from both sides of the aisle about the Basel III endgame, they're in the middle of, basically changing and modifying. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said he couldn't speak on any specifics. But once again, it shows you how fragile our banking system is. It shows you that we have nothing. We're going to have no sort of legitimate backstop for our dollar, which means that we're going to continue to see countries around the world ditching our dollar. But as long as the Fed does stay strong, doesn't cut rates, the DXY is ticking back up today. Crypto's going down. The bot's being deployed to keep it propped up. And in summary, in conclusion, it's just a massive amount of manipulation to keep the party going. What am I doing to hedge this, to protect myself against this? Well, of course, I'm working every single day, focusing on my businesses to stack up as much of this funny fiat money as possible. And then I hedge it with utility, with no counterparty risk. And I'm hedging it on the defensive side of my portfolio, utility with no counterparty risk, and that's silver. And then utility with no counterparty risk on the side of my portfolio that's for offense, that's digital assets like XRP, which is absolutely still primed. If you guys appreciate my updates, please make sure that you guys have subscribed, hit that notification bell. If you can help me out by liking this video on the way out, I got additional content coming later today. I just wanted to get this update because the markets are already moving after Jerome Powell's testimony today. And remember, tomorrow he's going to be giving testimony in the House. So we get to hear Jerome Powell speak again. And then is it Wednesday or Thursday? I can't remember. We're getting the CPI data is going to be coming out later this week. I think it's Thursday with the initial jobs claims. And then we get PPI, producer price index, coming out on Friday as well. So we're in the middle of a big week for economic data. We're going to be continuing to watch these markets. As I said earlier, Bitcoin is in big trouble. Prepare yourself accordingly. I'm keeping dry powder on the sidelines, ready to deploy if prices go lower. I think that 52,000's kind of, I don't want to say guaranteed, but I feel very firm in seeing Bitcoin go down to the 52,000 level. Stay safe out there. We'll see you guys in the next one. Everything's at zachrector.com, linked up in the description down below. Thank you.